Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We're the editors of manufacturing.net and Industrial Equipment News, and we each have more than 20 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Each week, we take the three top stories in our industry and discuss the implications they have for the industry moving forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David at IN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. Please leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube. Just give us a thumbs up. Really help us out a lot. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine, where we are live almost every Thursday, except this Thursday, because Anna, we're doing it a little differently this week.
Yeah, we're doing an audio-only version, which is sort of fun because, I don't think, have we ever done this?
I don't think we've ever done this before. It's like, and it's weird because just, having the lights on in the studio.
Yeah.
Having producer Eric not only not in the studio, but not in the country.
Yeah.
We're giving it a shot. And everything is just a little off. But it should be fine.
David's hair is crazy. The fact that nobody can see it is wild.
Just, I'm wearing a hat. No, am I?
The way you dyed your beard, everything, it's just too much.
I thought the pink would come off. Huh? But, Jeff, how you doing this week?
Good, man. And you?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of jealous because I know that, producer Eric is legitimately on a mountaintop somewhere, just drinking it all in. But, still really happy to be here with you guys. And I know that, so Ben Munson is going to try and produce this episode. He's going to produce this episode with great skill, and I'm really looking forward to see what I want to say looks like, but sounds like. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. He's good at what he does. He'll be fine.
He does. It's whenever you ask people, hey, can you also edit video and podcasts? You're just used to that, no. And Ben's just yeah, I can do that. And I'll learn. It's oh my, wow.
What?
Good
I thought we were done learning.
Yeah. You're still learning, huh?
Yeah.
It's great.
It's fine for you.
Yeah, I love that for you. Totally got to do some of that. Ongoing human life education. All right. Before we jump into our first story this week, we have a word from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Oracle NetSuite. Most organizations have more dashboards, reports, and data than ever before. Yet decisions still get made on gut feel or anecdote. The gap is not data, it's action. In this practical field guide, Bernie Smith, director of Made to Measure KPIs and KPI Academy, shares his approach to connecting KPIs to real decisions and measurable improvement. Download the field guide right now to learn how to make dashboards useful instead of wallpaper. Choose measures people actually trust and act on. Defend clear responses when a KPI moves. Design targets that encourage the right behaviors and connect strategy, measurement, and action. There is a link to download this field guide in the body copy, not in the live chat because, Jeff, we're not there. But next week, live chat will be back.
There you go.
All right. Our first story this week. New Balance may donate shuttered factory to the town it vacated. About 2 years ago, New Balance announced plans to close its plant in Norridgewock, Maine. The move surprised pretty much everyone because the shoemaker is known for its U.S.-based manufacturing footprint. The move made business sense as New Balance shifted work from Norridgewock to Skowhegan, which is about 5.5 miles up the road. The Skowhegan plant opened in 2025, and because it's so close, New Balance simply transferred all 230 Norridgewock workers. Overall, this is a relatively best-case scenario for everyone involved, except Norridgewock. It's a small town of about 3,300 people, and its service sector really relied on the plant's workforce. But is it possible that New Balance can tie this one up quietly? To try and make it right, the company offered to donate its factory to the town. Apparently, food company Maine Grains, which is also based in Skowhegan, wants in on this old factory to make its grain-based bars, cereal, and other products. But now it's up to the residents. If the town buys into this deal, Maine Grains would take on some 50,000 square feet and add about 15 new jobs. The other 170,000 square feet will fall into the town's hands. But if you think this is just New Balance trying to get some capital off the books, you could be somewhat right. However, New Balance offered to pay to maintain the currently vacant plant for the next 2 years. So, Anna, the town of Norridgewock was set to hold a special town meeting on whether it would become the plant's sole owner or to tell New Balance to take a hike. Do you know what happened?
So to be clear, the meeting was to hold a vote on whether the town could proceed forward with the talks, like that they would be in a position to accept New Balance's offer. It was not to finalize it.
Oh, okay. It's just like, we are willing to accept another meeting.
Really, yes. I mean, do we have the town's support to move forward with this if it were to be offered to us? So it looks like the town of Norridgewock will have a seat at the table in determining the future of the factory. They got the okay from voters. There was a referendum, as you mentioned, that passed 180 yes to 143 no, which, as you mentioned, that town is about 3,300 in size. Not a huge turnout for the vote, but what I found even more interesting than that was the split was kind of tight. I mean, it was not close. It was not by any means an overwhelming margin. Mm-hmm. So that made me wonder if maybe there's a little bit of distrust here. Mm-hmm. That the town was maybe so burned by this plant closure that many of the residents are looking at this glass as being half empty. Like, what's the catch? What are the liabilities? How could this go wrong? Are we going to be on the hook for something that we don't want to be on the hook for? It's a small town.
It's a small town, and it's 170,000 square feet that they'd still be responsible for.
Yeah. So you kind of get that. The town's leadership seems to be sensitive to this. They've created a website for ongoing updates for the project. They spelled it out clearly on the website saying, quote, "This vote does not require the select board to accept the property. Instead, it grants the board the legal authority to do so if, after careful evaluation, it determines that accepting the property is in the best interest of the town." So I think they're trying to say, like, look, we get it that you have some reservations here. Yeah. We're going to make the best choice for Norridgewock. Town manager Richard LaBelle said, multiple entities are interested in calling the Depot Street facility home. We know about Maine Grains, but Maine Grains was just going to take part of it, right? Yeah. There's a whole other, all these other segments to it.
Taking about a quarter of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, more than half will be available yet. He said the site could ultimately house, multiple businesses, maybe even some municipal uses for the building. And then town officials told local affiliate WABI ahead of the vote that their involvement allows greater opportunities for grant funding.
Oh, okay.
So the hope is that this works out well. As for New Balance's agenda here, I mean, there's a lot that you could speculate in terms of maybe they don't have a lot of interested buyers for the space. Maybe they do need to just get this off of their plate. Maybe it's just not a very lucrative piece of property to be holding on to. Yeah. All of that could be true. Mm-hmm. Could be, that they're thinking this is a great PR move for the people of the town to see that that we did this for the town. Yeah. That we're not trying to screw anyone over, that we did this nice thing to kind of help them rebuild their manufacturing sector. So I don't know.
Well, and having grown up in a small town and now kind of living in a small town, I understand the heavy skepticism in any sort of change that can occur in a small town. But also, I've been involved with, or my communities have been involved with sort of similar deals where all of a sudden big decisions are made and there is no transparency whatsoever. So the fact that they're letting the town know exactly what's going on, where they're at, and what their options are, I think that's really healthy. And it looks like they're going to be able to come to some sort of amicable resolution here. I was shocked. You said 180 to 140? That is crazy. That's crazy low turnout, Jeff. And my thought was that, New Balance agrees to kind of help maintain it for 2 years, but 2 years goes by really fast, especially when towns can maybe not be known for their agility, their quick thinking, fast decision making.
Well, I think it's less than that. There's just a lot of different factors to consider here. And I think I was very surprised at the low turnaround. I mean, this is a big piece of dirt.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the day, it's still real estate, and there's still a lot of value to it. So I guess I was surprised there wasn't more of sort of a passionate discourse or involvement here from the town, especially because it is so small and for all those things that you talked about. And by the way, your definition of a small town is very different than a lot of others. The towns that you're referring to, most would not refer to as small towns, in my opinion.
No, like 3,300 is not a small town?
No, I'm saying when you're talking about DeForest or New Berlin.
No, or like 10,000 people, that's not a small town?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. No, I guess I was thinking more like old school Burlington. That was like 9. But,
anyway.
Okay. I feel like small town pettiness in politics, universal.
Definitely an issue, or the size of the community, definitely something to come into play here.
Oh, Drew, what was yours?
1,500.
Yeah, that's small. Okay, so you can speak a little bit
Jeff
more.
gets it.
Yeah, he gets it.
So again, when you're looking at 3,300 people, a lot of different variables here. The number one thing is I think everybody around there has got to be thinking, what could we put in here? Because again, you're in Maine. It's not that it's geographically disadvantaged, but it's not an advantage. When you look at the center of the country or other areas that are near ports, there's different selling points, I guess you can say, to bring in bigger manufacturing companies to fill this space.
Yeah.
This is going to be some real niche stuff, and it's just there's not a lot of people. I know they say they've got people knocking at the door to try to get in here.
They always do.
This much space, though, I think is going to be a real challenge. I think also the fact that when you looked at some of the, you mentioned some of the quotes from the city officials and things like that, when they also had some interesting quotes from voters who are coming out of the booth, and their thought was kind of, well, we don't know. And we would have liked to have seen a more in-depth report before going to vote and making this decision.
That's fair.
So the amount of uncertainty here, I think, is really what is interesting to see. Also, I think a lot of these trepidations just come from the fact that we've heard so many stories about promises made by manufacturers and not fulfilling them after all of these funds have been allocated towards it. Whether it comes from the state, the city, the federal government, it's still taxpayer dollars in most instances. So you can see a lot more, aiming before we fire as opposed to the other way around here in these types of situations. I think it's been a very interesting reversal in maybe the last 5 to 10 years in terms of the public sentiment towards these corporate gifts, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and it's not central Maine or like northeast Maine, but it is, it is pretty far from New Hampshire's border. It's very pretty far from the water. So you're right. Like it could be further away.
Look, there's a lot of hooks for manufacturing in Maine.
Yeah.
But there's also some things that people go, but I can do that someplace else.
Right.
So.
And the reason I guess I say that the 2 years goes really fast is because there was another story in the news this week about Realta Fusion. And Realta Fusion, if you guys, that might ring a bell to us in particular, because they're a magnetic mirror fusion energy company, which everybody totally knows about, but they just secured $55 million from the state of Wisconsin and the city of Minnesota because they're going to develop their corporate headquarters and fusion research facility at OM Station. That's the old Oscar Mayer plant, right? While this is great news and Realta expects to create more than 600 jobs at this facility, do you guys want to guess at when Oscar Mayer closed that plant? Because to me, it kind of seems like it was just yesterday.
Oh, not to me. No.
No? Okay.
Was it like 10 years ago? No,
Okay.
it's more than that.
What do you think?
10, 15 years ago. I mean, it's been.
Okay. Well, it was 9 years ago. It was 2017. But it was like, I thought of that story where, they closed it and they're like, oh, so many different uses, a lot of land. And I mean, that was a little bit more difficult because it's the difference.
It's a campus.
I mean, it is a campus, making hot dogs, not shoes. I'm sure that they're dealing with a host of environmental factors. But that was something that's like, look at this premium real estate and this manufacturing footprint, and we're going to get no one in it for 9 years. And so while 2 years does seem like a nice grace period, it could be wishful thinking. So I thought that was great news for Wisconsin and Madison, but also kind of a little perspective as to this prime real estate in Wisconsin's capital that kind of sat there for 9 years.
Yeah.
Which apparently seemed like a lot longer to you guys, but I was just like, man, what has that been?
Well, what was
like 3-4 years? No.
What was interesting with that is there was upkeep. Like, you could tell it was not they were not letting those buildings go.
There
was
stuff in there.
Yeah. There are small businesses, and there are some charities in there, I believe, too. Yeah. So it's still being like sort of used, but that might be when you're looking at trying to fill. I think that you look at a space like 170,000 square feet, and you're like, look, think of the possibilities.
No, I think your point is well made. I mean, they're definitely, that 2 years would go fast, and suddenly I'm sure the townspeople are thinking like, what do we do in 2 years if we don't have anybody to take this space? Then we're kind of like on the hook for maintaining it and making sure it doesn't fall into disrepair, so it's still a valuable asset for us. So they could be like, have these costs that they are associated with this building and no revenue coming in, because there really are no guarantees at this stage of the game.
Yeah, depending on what's more valuable, just move like the entire town hall, the library, post office, everything into that, and then sell the other parcels off. Okay. All right, our next most popular story this week. Ammo factory fails to produce any shells after $469 million Army investment. After sending many, many shells to Ukraine, the Army tasked General Dynamics and its existing ammunition plant in Mesquite, Texas, with manufacturing 30,000 M795 High Explosive 155 millimeter shells each month by October 2025. But a new report recently issued by the Department of War's Inspector General said the plant hasn't produced a single shell in 2 years of operation. General Dynamics wasn't officially identified in the Department of War's report, but the editors at Task and Purpose found a matching description in a contract awarded to the defense contractor. General Dynamics has a long-standing history of working for the U.S. government, but this particular project was labeled, quote, high risk for a reason. Factory leaders wanted to convert old machines that formerly manufactured M107 shells, an older 155 millimeter round that the M795 replaced. But this was an incredibly difficult target to hit. The M795 goes nearly 4 miles farther than the M107, so it has a much more powerful explosive charge. General Dynamics failed to produce any acceptable parts until the Army finally ordered the factory to cease operations. The military's goal is to make 100,000 of these 155 millimeter rounds per month, and now it is still falling far short of that goal. Now, for that alarming price tag, the Army has flushed $469 million in Texas, money that the Inspector General says could have addressed other Army or Department of War priorities. After all, $500 million can go a long way. Anna, the Army says it plans to review the entire deal, but do you think it will ever recoup any funds?
No, I don't. No. Yeah, I think that's very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I like that they always put that in there. Hey, we're gonna give it a look, and we're gonna get back every penny we can.
Maybe we can get a few bucks back.
Yeah,
and then that doesn't happen, and then no one ever talks about it again.
Yeah,
this is what I think will happen here.
Cost of doing business. They're breaking a lot of eggs to make this omelet.
Yeah. So I found another report in Breaking Defense that included some interesting follow-up on this. They spoke to a General Dynamics spokesperson who said to them that the company has now reached an agreement with the Army, which includes additional investment to complete the project from General Dynamics Ordnance and Tactical Systems. So the company itself says we are going to put some more money into making this work.
Wow.
They added, we appreciate the collaborative efforts of the U.S. Army in working toward a positive resolution that enables this facility to deliver essential munitions to the U.S. military. So the manufacturer has relented. They're dumping some more money into this. I'm sure it doesn't help that this was covered heavily in the media.
Yeah.
And the Inspector General's report, I think, comes at a time where replenishing the military stockpile is a matter of rapidly increasing importance. Just generally speaking, it's more, more depletion of our resources than just Ukraine at this point. There's just a lot going on, as we know.
Yeah.
Breaking Defense has also added that the head of Army Acquisition, Brent Ingram, has said that the Army was not planning to invest more in the line. Rather, the plan is to move from 3 production lines down to 2 and only produce 20,000 units per month. Ingram said that they're putting their own investment in to finish the line off with a focus on supporting a number of foreign military sale allies and partners that want to continue buying 155 millimeter rounds. So it sounds like they're just kind of hoping that this happens through the efforts and funding from General Dynamics, and then, whatever extra we have, we can sell is what I'm taking away from that.
Man, those are some rose-colored glasses.
I mean, that's what it sounds like he's saying.
Yeah.
He said that they're going to continue, the Army is going to continue to validate the product that's coming off the line, and if the Army wants to buy rounds off that line, they can.
Okay.
But if they don't want to, for whatever reason at this point, then, I think General Dynamics has the ability to sell those to allied countries. So yes, a very strange situation and a bit of a snafu, I think, both the Army and for the Army and for General Dynamics, again, during a time when strength and consistency of defense contractors is really of critical importance. So just very bad timing for that.
So, sorry, David.
No.
Just to clarify, they're going to sell the stuff our military doesn't want to somebody else.
To allies.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
in other
that's
words, the stuff that's not good enough for us, we'll give to somebody
No, I
else.
think what he's saying is we're moving on.
Yeah.
And General Dynamics is going to try to get this line up and going. Okay. And if we want to buy some of the parts that come off this line, we will. But if we don't want to, then they can sell them to, foreign allies and partners that want to buy those rounds
At a surplus discounted rate.
Like the old ones, probably the 107s.
No, because it's been retooled.
Yeah, he said, this was his quote, "They're putting their own investment in to finish the line off with the focus on supporting a number of foreign military sale allies and partners that want to continue buying 155 rounds."
Well, I guess that's not a total loss then.
Well, so I guess you could take that a lot of different ways, because the 155 is a standard measurement. It's not necessarily a specific
The revised
model.
version, yes.
So
true, but
so they could be
to
making
finish the line off. I mean, I took that to mean that because they already have the old equipment.
Yeah, how close are they? And I mean, if they've spent $500 million, well, like another, how much more is it going to take to get a quality product off the line? I guess there's quite a bit of investment there. So hopefully they're close.
And I'm not trying to sharpshoot, but it's just like, this is such a bigger mess, I think, than what is really covered in a lot of this dialogue here. I mean, this really underscores a lot of the issues that are just taking place within the supply chains of the defense industry right now.
Yeah.
They were having a hard time retooling this. And just to be clear, this is a huge undertaking. I mean, you talked about it as a high risk, high reward type situation. It is because, first of all, 4 more miles for an artillery round, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
That is a huge performance upgrade.
Right.
And the reason that they were struggling so much to make these new rounds is because they need to be able to have the tolerances for the additional gunpowder, essentially.
Yeah.
The ignition to propel these rounds that far. So they needed all of the different metallurgical, different materials that encase the round.
Yeah.
So it didn't blow up in the gun, basically.
Right.
That's a big deal, and obviously much more complicated and complex than they ever could have realized.
Yeah.
And it's further complicated by the fact that all these materials that they need, they're coming from different countries. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Every single one of those things, when you look at steel and iron and copper, are subject to huge tariffs right now as well. Mm-hmm. So we're just sort of chasing our tail here a little bit in terms of we need all these new rounds and we need all of this new defense support. But in order to do it, we have to source from different places. But, in the meantime, we're making all these people mad by tariffing them.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? This is just more convoluted and complex than any type of dollar amount even illustrates. Let's be honest, okay? $500 million is a lot of, obviously, an excruciating amount of money.
Yeah.
But in the context of defense development,
Yeah.
Not as much.
Yeah, like we're reportedly spending $40 billion a month on the Iranian conflict.
So taking a shot on this plant isn't what bothered me, I guess, about this story, even though it is that much wasted money. It's more the fact that we're just trying to sort of breeze over the bigger issue here and the bigger problem that we have. If we want to build up our reserves, we need to figure out how to source all of these materials to begin with.
Better supply chain. Well, and I guess you're right. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money.
It's all in context. It's
True.
a ridiculous amount of money, but for this application.
But I mean, at what point do you have a responsibility to call it? Like, I mean, it sounds like General Dynamics is willing to just like continue investing in this. And hey, if they see, if the spec is a little bit lower for allied nations, and they will buy the product. Yeah. That honestly makes a lot of sense. It's just like, hey, I mean, we kind of got, $500 million from the U.S. government with a few more from us. We got a huge demand over here. I mean, that makes a lot of business sense.
Especially if they can still make money selling the older rounds.
Yeah. Well, I think that could really use a lot of clarity as to what exactly they're going to sell. Because if they could sell the 795, right? 795, the 795, but again, two allied nations that maybe have lower tolerances. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to
get
into
really
specifics here. I don't want to I did grow up in the field artillery, though. That was my first training in the Army. So a little bit of this I could nerd out on. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
So I was just curious, like, how much have we supplied? So according to a report from the New York Times, the U.S. has supplied Ukraine with more than 3 million 155 millimeter howitzer rounds. This also includes 105 millimeter shells, guided artillery shells, and other rocket systems from the Pentagon stocks. But 3 million. So even with their optimistic target of 100,000 rounds a month, it's gonna take some time to rebuild that stockpile. All right, our most popular story this week, and this one was a bit of a surprise. Popular everywhere this week. Northwestern engineers made a quote phantom drone that vanishes in plain sight. Engineers at Northwestern. Wow, that's some good bias right there.
Wow. Burn.
Unintentional. Engineers at Northwestern University have created a drone that appears to vanish in plain sight after it takes flight. The Phantom Twist is a drone that uses a concept called, quote, motion blur. That's the effect that makes it seemingly impossible to see fast-spinning blades on fans or Roadrunner's legs. The drone spins up to 25 times per second, which is why you can't see it or you can't see much of it. The work at Northwestern could lead to drones that monitor wildlife, survey the environment, inspect infrastructure, or other things. What is perhaps more interesting is how the team used AI in the Phantom Twist's design. They used a computational model to generate some 20,000 different drone configurations. They then used AI to rearrange the drone's major components, like the motor, the propeller, circuit board, counterweight, and batteries, all to minimize visibility, but maintain stable flight. Project lead Michael Rubenstein said the design process was, quote, fully automated. While the Phantom Twist is about 10 times harder to see than a conventional quadcopter, the propeller still makes a lot of noise, and some wires and support rods are still somewhat visible. So next, the team is going to likely use AI to deploy more transparent materials and find a quieter motor. Anna, do you see this drone more monitoring wildlife or those other things?
I mean, definitely my first thought was a bit more dystopian than that.
Yeah.
I mean, we like monitoring wildlife, like all the money that's being put into that right now, just tons of money.
They don't want to disturb the koalas.
Yeah, they just want them to have like just a quieter time.
Yeah, the meerkat is quite sensitive to noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like you have all the billionaires of the world are in support of that.
Mm-hmm. But what about the meerkat?
Yeah. But what about surveying the environment quietly? Here's a check.
That's right.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, what could these be used for in terms of like surveillance or attack, like things that could benefit the military, for example. But if they're, if they're being used against you, or if they're being used in another sense against the public, I think that's not exactly ideal.
Maybe when they're used against the public, they're sensitive to our hearing. They don't want that kind of noise pollution.
That's true. So it could just that's what's the nice thing is that like if you're under surveillance, or
you won't know it.
You won't know it because it will just feel like a regular day.
Yeah,
and that would be nice.
Yeah.
For everyone.
That's right.
Yep. Being surveyed by like a police state or something.
I mean, hypothetically,
maybe I'm taking it too far, but I do think that like the limitations that are in place right now, the like small amount of noise they said, or the wires, actually make it a little bit less terrifying to me. And if they make new iterations with these more transparent materials or quieter propulsion, it will get better at spying on wildlife. That's true.
Yes.
That's not what I expect long term this would be used for. It's a very kind of like doomsday thing that leads to the thing scenario in my brain. Yeah. But I think we're not great at regulating technology when it comes to personal privacy. So I don't have high expectations that this wouldn't be like, in the wrong hands be used for like a much more nefarious purpose. And maybe it would be good in the military, but again, like all those things that are like highly automated or whatever, where with drones you have those concerns, right, of how they would be used.
No, really that was a lot of the debate that this spurred online in terms of people talking, having that same point, and then people sort of countering that argument with what people were posting, a photo taken from this drone, and it was just a bunch of blurry photos. Just like, look at the surveillance that I can provide, because it's, obviously it can't take photos right now.
Yeah.
And people were having a lot of fun with this one, and producer Eric was just eating it up. Because
okay. I didn't see any of this.
Yeah, they're just like live footage from the drone and just like blurry photos everywhere because, it's spinning. But I mean, to your point, very much a what could be a dystopian thing leading to another dystopian thing. Mm-hmm. Well, so Jeff, what I wanted to bring up with you is this week we had another story of AI making, we had this story of AI making the invisible drone, but we also had a, quote, unprecedented cyber incident during which an AI system broke out of a test environment and attacked startup Hugging Face, all on its own. So is this sort of an example of taking the good with the bad? And is this path of AI that we are currently on in every direction sustainable?
Wow.
The big question for you. Yeah.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It is the light and the dark side sort of artificial intelligence and its capabilities. You see it plugged in here to help refine this model probably years more quickly than if you had a human in there trying to program and figure out the algorithms for all this. On the other side, the whole Hugging Face thing and OpenAI, interesting because it did break out of the sandbox, so to speak. It broke out of that testing environment, but it also helps illustrate the fact that the internet's doors swing both ways. We've talked about that before. Anytime, it doesn't matter what type of environment it is. When this was a testing one, once you're hooked up, it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is something that we need to be very mindful of when we are talking about artificial intelligence, because that's what it does. Yeah. It learns. And if you're saying this may be a stupid analogy, but like if you've ever had a cat, the only place a cat wants to go is the door that is behind the door that's closed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is going to be the same way. Anytime you've got a thinking, problem-solving piece of software, it's going to want to figure out that door is closed. Why is that door closed? Well, I can go through that door. Well, now I'm out here, and now where can I go and do all sorts of fun stuff?
Yeah.
So it also, OpenAI is also going to be subject to some scrutiny, because what were they developing with this module that led it to want to not only seek out Hugging Face.
Yeah.
These names, man.
I know.
These names.
Yeah.
Anyway, to seek that out, but then also launch an attack. I mean, it had everything in there. It had the malware for stealing. It had the extortion dynamics. Everything was built into there.
Yeah.
So what were they working on?
Yeah.
So yes, definitely the light in the dark here. And we can't continue down this road. We need to be smarter. There needs to be more checks. I'm not sure it's the government. I don't know if that's where we want to take this. But all of these very smart people developing all these platforms, we saw it in other cases too. We saw it last week. We talked about those researchers who found that fully agent-based attack.
Oh, yeah.
That was in an operational environment. We saw this with Mythos earlier this year when Anthropic was working with all those software companies to develop software that found vulnerabilities in other pieces of software. Mm-hmm. And that got leaked out.
Yeah.
So there just needs to be a heightened level of responsibility. I think there is, as you said many times, with sort of the Silicon Valley developing technology perspective, is go fast and break things.
Yeah.
We need to slow the hell down here.
Yeah.
And make sure we know what we're doing before we break everything.
Well, in every other aspect of technological life, the industry has been able to come together and choose a winner, choose a protocol, do the right thing, essentially. And I feel like, well, not every.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. But I mean, so like, I feel like we're capable of this, but it is a little terrifying that, the AI company's sandbox it made for its AI test was penetrated by its AI.
Well, and the problem that we have, because you're right, I was going to agree with you in terms of picking the winner.
Yeah.
The problem now is there is so much investment money flooding into any company that can say AI on the back of it.
Yeah.
Look at how many websites and just technology companies that we deal with, they're not .com anymore. They're .ai. Or they're touting AI. And that is what brings in money, customer interest, everything else. So picking that winner, that's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
It's going to happen over time, but there's got to be some checks and balances that the industry comes together and says we need to regulate ourselves. It's rare that I'm on board with Elon Musk, but he did say this like 3 years ago.
Yeah. More than that. Yeah. I mean, he's been saying for a long time we need to regulate AI, and I agree.
Well, and we do need to regulate AI, but talking about all the money flooding into it, there are a number of people that are predicting that this AI bubble is going to burst like the .com bubble did. Maybe at that point, when things settle a little bit, maybe there will be a little bit more clarity. I did want to go back and just see what you thought about this invisible drone as well. Like, I thought it was a good, talking about how AI was used to design it and its true capabilities. But I also wanted to go back and just, look at this project out of Northwestern and what you thought.
I guess I'm not as doom and gloom as Anna is on this one, just because there is a noise issue. And anytime we talk about trying to make these things invisible, it's very difficult because that's only really done if you can make it invisible to radar. I understand the naked eye is important too, especially when you're talking about something this small. Yeah. But if it's this loud, and any of those things that you would need to make it invisible to radar, you're putting new materials in there, which the human eye can see. Yeah. So I guess I'm not even though I think it's incredible technology that they were able to develop here, I'm not sure where this goes. Yeah. Because if you're going to use it to spy on animals and other things like that and do research,
you're not.
I don't think you're going to spend this much money on that. And if you're looking at it for military applications, I think all of the things that you would need to do to advance it for a military use, I don't know. I mean, there's so many other elements of this that would have to be refined and developed that I'm not sure. Okay. Because anything you do to make it less visible to the human eye could potentially make it more visible to radar and other surveillance like that.
Now, I know that we're going a little long here, but I also wanted to there's one more angle on this story that I wanted to bring up and just kind of get your opinions on. I wanted to take a minute and recognize Mike DeMar. He reached out after he published this story because Mike holds 3 patents on the invisible drone from about 20 years ago. He got the idea for a helicopter that rotates while flying, actually during a demonstration flight at Picatinny Arsenal. His first prototype was actually very similar to the work at Northwestern. He said he developed it into a single wing with 2 propellers that was launched in the air, kind of like how you throw a boomerang. It was like 3-sided, 2 rotors, and then you just threw it up there. He called it the Phantom Sentinel. even a little bit of the same naming. So Mike says that DARPA loved this concept, but couldn't fund it because his company, Veritech Aero Corporation, was, quote, too small. Mike said, quote, I gave up all interest in creating anything for our military and lost all respect for DARPA. But other than that, he's over it. Mike isn't going after anyone, and those are his words. His patents have expired, but he does say, and I agree, that some acknowledgement for his inventions would be nice. So I wanted to take a minute and acknowledge him for his inventions. I actually set up a follow-up interview, and there'll be more of an in-depth conversation. We'll see what happens as a result of that. Mike also designed one of the first viable quadcopters back in 1999. It was released as the Roswell Flyer, later called the Dragon Flyer, and he says, no, this was not the first quad-rotor helicopter. He actually notes how those were created before he was even born, but it was the first commercially viable one, which was really cool. Now, I bring this point, first of all, to recognize Mike DeMar. I think that's fantastic, and I really appreciate that he reached out. But it also just made me think that AI might just go ahead and steal everything, everywhere, from any time, and we're either going to be far greater because of it or far worse. Because who knows where any of this idea came from, but there are some similarities.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing happening in almost every aspect of our life, in particular with the arts. But it's kind of opened this floodgates where it's just like, hey, it's just AI. It's going to do what it does. And it's like, no, it just stole everything from the patent office. And it's going to be like, but we used AI to develop it. We didn't steal it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it stands to reason that AI is being used to like scan the databases of expired patents and try to find stuff that might be viable now that wasn't 20 years ago, for sure. Yeah.
No, I just, at first I thought this was a really cool, like, feel good angle, but then I was also like, but wait a minute. Yeah. You know, since the day we've been doing this, people have reached out with patents and inventions, and it's always the next best thing. And we realize that a lot of these fail because they can't go to market. They don't have the money to sustain the idea. And now, because of AI, it can basically, to Anna's point, grant access to all of this stuff. And whoever's idea it was, be damned. It's kind of scary, Jeff.
Well, that's the dark side.
Yeah.
The light side is a lot of these new developments are based, especially in this one, there is a lot of software development that was also needed, which AI can help streamline and help take away some of those costs of getting to market. Yeah. So how are you going to use it? And, you know, again, that's where the regulatory element of it becomes very tricky.
Imagine where we would be also if Mike's idea was funded back then. Can you imagine just like, man, you got a great idea, too small, though, can't give you any money. It just seems odd to me. Like, isn't that the point of DARPA? To bet on those ideas? The long shots?
The meerkats have gotten like 20 extra years of privacy.
All right. Well, before we jump into, in case you missed it, we have another word from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Oracle NetSuite. Most organizations have more dashboards, reports, and data than ever before. Yet decisions still get made on gut feel or anecdote. The gap is not data, it's action. In this practical field guide, Bernie Smith, director of Made to Measure KPIs and KPI Academy, shares his approach to connecting KPIs to real decisions and measurable improvement. So download this field guide. Right now, there is a link to it in the live chat, which we're not doing. I knew I was going to pick one. Download it in the body copy to learn how to make dashboards useful instead of wallpaper. Choose the measures that people actually trust and act on. Define clear responses when a KPI moves. Design targets that encourage the right behaviors, and connect strategy, measurement, and action. All right, in case you missed it, story's not as popular on the site, but still stand to make a big impact on the industry going forward. Anna, what do you have for us this week?
I picked a story titled "Pairs of Glasses Are Boosting Productivity in Some Garment Factories." Simply because the headline suggests to me that, like, they can't possibly mean glasses.
This has to be some sort of AI-powered smart glasses that is setting the garment industry light years ahead of its competitors.
Right. So the story is about Bangladesh, basically, which is a home to the world's second largest garment industry after China. And they say that some factory owners are are supplying more glasses to workers to boost productivity. And they're working with a global nonprofit social enterprise called Vision Spring, who is supplying affordable glasses to people in poorer countries, and estimates that roughly 1 in 3 Bangladeshi garment workers needs glasses but do not have them. So I think by now you understand that we're talking about like glasses for vision, right?
Yeah.
Like reading glasses.
Just glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the group Vision Spring has supplied glasses that cost less than $10 per pair to some workers through a partnership with the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association, which represents factory owners. Ella Goodwin, who is the chief executive of Vision Spring, said the benefits were immediate, as workers were better able to meet quality and production targets and reduce mistakes. The director of Bangladeshi garment company Masco Group, Fahima Akhtar, said managers initially did not realize how many workers had vision problems because they rarely complained. She said that Masco Group has screened about 5,000 workers, with around 30% receiving glasses. So these screenings are done directly at the factory. And I think it speaks to a few things in general in manufacturing and many other sectors, of course, that your workers are more effective when they are healthy. So skimping on healthcare policies or PTO, making it harder to go to the doctor, for example. These are trade-offs. They are things that don't really always save the company money in the long term because of the consequences of them. And then secondly, on-site assessments as what is taking place here, right, are great, I think, if you can do them. To me, this glasses program is the equivalent of PPE because seeing better means you are not just more productive, but you are safer, I would assume, right? Mm-hmm. So these two things can go hand in hand, and I think more employers should be viewing them that way. Like, could your workforce benefit from an on-site vision assessment, or could they benefit from having work boots provided that are selected in size specifically for them, or gloves that are sized specifically for them? These are just small things that I think make a big difference to workers on the line, not just in their own comfort, but their ability to do their job and also their safety.
Well, I mean, we talk about that. We've had stories before about different types of companies and funds that almost do like it's not like a insurance, but it's like a separate fund to kind of get these small items that help people do their job better, right? You know, they need better PPE, they need better shoes, like I said. I mean, it was crazy to me because I read the article the same way. I'm like, whoa, what kind of crazy technology are they using? And it's glasses.
It's readers, man. That's what it
crazy.
is.
And then I was just like, well, what percentage of people need glasses? And it's, according to some reports, 75% of adults worldwide will need some sort of vision correction or glasses. So, I mean, if you're going to employ adults anywhere in the world, there are very simple tools that can help them make their job better. And it's just crazy to me that that is a solution anywhere in 2026. Now, Jeff, I understand that you could probably look at this story and just be like, it's not shocking at all. They barely have any kind of regulation. So why would there be any expectation that they can see?
Well, maybe. But the thing is, I think the bigger thing is this is taking place this is in Bangladesh. And I think a lot of times U.S. manufacturers don't think there's a lot to learn from this type of environment. Well, there's a ton of takeaway here, as Anna alluded to. And I think that's part of what we can extract from this particular article is it doesn't matter where it is. A lot of these things are uniform, and best practices are best practices. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you are or what the environment is.
Make sure your people can see.
Man, it's always the little things.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
It's like, do you have anyone on staff that seems to be squinting a lot? Just see if they need help.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, what's your in case you missed it this week?
Well, Anna and I must have been sharing a brain a little bit here because I also picked something dealing with sight and vision and all that good stuff. So picked an article here on medical design and development talking about 3D printed patient-specific contact lenses in just 20 minutes. Thought this was pretty cool. My wife is actually going through a new contact lens prescription, and it's back and forth, and does it fit right? Is it the right prescription? And just constantly dealing with changes to get it right does take some time. So when you look at using a combination of software and new technology to streamline that process, I mean, it's pretty cool. So there's a breakthrough combination of new silicone materials and advanced 3D printing technology developed by University of Waterloo researchers. The award-winning innovation can produce patient-specific contact lenses in as little as 20 minutes, paving the way for specialized lenses to be designed, manufactured, and dispensed during a single visit to the optometrist. So I thought that was pretty cool, especially when you look at the rising costs of all these things. I also think it's just interesting because going back, I mean, when did we start working in product development? That's about 15 years ago. We started covering a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, 3D printing was like, hey, it's really cool. It could do all of these neat things. Now it is.
Yeah.
It is mainstream as can be. And now it's even having it is having an impact on one of the most basic human needs possible here. So I thought it was really cool there just because we're talking more about 3D printing as a very viable technological or just production solution here. The other thing that was cool is contact lenses made out of silicone. That's something that typically did not translate well to 3D printing, the material itself. Mm-hmm. So in addition to understanding how to develop the software and embed the information needed to print the silicone, it also had to develop a special coating to go on the silicone. Yep. So as you're building the layers and constructing the lens, it's not harsh or uncomfortable for the eye. So just a lot of cool stuff going on here that could have a definite everyday impact. And I think it just reinforced to me that a lot of these technologies that we talk to when we think about the thing that's going to lead to the thing, like, where did this start? 3D printing. We were printing out little tchotchke giveaway stuff at trade shows. Well, now it's real world.
It's real world, but you talk to a lot of people in the industry, and it's still just in a holding pattern where, people are not pulling the trigger and integrating additive manufacturing and 3D printing into the line yet. There's still some, and they would call this a small market. We look at something like the orthotic business was one of the first ones to jump on board too. Step on the mat, custom print a custom orthotic. I mean, I think in the medical industry, we are also still just scratching the surface. Yeah. This is awesome. I see it as a bummer because I still just can't keep contact lenses in my eye. But maybe that's because I never had one. When you think of the 3 tests that you do whenever you go to update your prescription, the one is they scan your eyeball now. And the fact that they can translate that type of medical data into a software and then custom print a contact lens that actually fits the shape and prescription of your eyeball, that's insane. That's incredible because that's why I couldn't keep contacts on my eyeballs because they're too oval. Anna, when you look at this story, I think it's always good to have a reminder as to the role 3D printing is and will continue to play in the medical industry.
For sure. And, the one thing I thought of too is you go to the optometrist and what is the typical trajectory of that appointment? You go in, you get your test done, they tell you what prescription you need and you take it with you and then you go home and you buy your glasses online because they're cheaper, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if an optometrist has access to this piece of equipment and they can provide you exactly what you need to spec that day, I would think this could be a huge boon to their business, just not letting you get out the door if they can produce your contact lenses right here and right, why wouldn't you? So I do think that yes, it's a small market, but it could be very impactful for some of these businesses in medical that are trying to sell these products.
I completely agree. And it's actually, there's been a new wave in eyesight in terms of, because at first or most recently it was get it as close to perfect as you can. And then they found out that stresses your eyes way too much and actually causes more degeneration. So they dialed it back a little bit. I'm interested to see what this kind of mix is going to happen with these contact lenses, just in terms of what's best for your eyesight right now and long term, and how these materials interact with your eyeball, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. All right, for mine, in case you missed it, just talk about putting together stories that are a no-doubter in case you missed it. I worked up this article this week. It's called TRISO-X Plots Massive Advanced Nuclear Fuel Expansion in Tennessee. So last week, TRISO-X announced tentative plans to create about 1,200 jobs in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. This company hopes to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in equipment and build a new fuel facility and R&D center. TRISO-X is pretty incredible. It's the first company that's received a license from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to build and operate a commercial-scale facility for producing high-assay, low-enriched uranium fuel in the United States. The company's parent is Maryland-based X Energy. This company is trying to make advanced small modular reactors. They also want to accelerate the commercialization of advanced technologies and strengthen the U.S. supply chain for critical nuclear fuel. I chose this story because I think this is pretty incredible. This company was founded and is based in Oak Ridge. The company TriSoX broke ground on this facility in 2022, their first facility. At the time when they broke ground, it was North America's first commercial advanced nuclear fuel facility. The company said it's going to receive $11 million from the state. It's an economic development grant. And they did specify that this funding will support continued development of its current campus, as well as a potential second facility. If everything goes according to plan, TriSoX expects to have 3 facilities designed to establish domestic commercial scale manufacturing and research capabilities for the company's proprietary tristructural isotropic or TRISO fuel. It's considered the most robust nuclear fuel on the planet. I chose this story because I thought it was incredible, and I just wanted to give everyone a second opportunity to learn about it. Especially because a lot of times there's always this debate of what the future of power needs will be, and it's looking more and more like nuclear is going to play a big role in that. And I like the idea of this small modular reactor that are more carefully placed where they're needed, and as well as making a new fuel and making it in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Jeff, I don't know if you had a chance to check out this story, but what were your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. Whenever I see Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I think of that book, The Girls of Atomic City, and just like the history of this part of the country and everything that was done there during World War II and up till now. So it's a cool tie-in there, just, I don't know, in that respect. But I think when we think about nuclear power and opportunities for it and this fuel that they're producing here, again, I mean, we just can't avoid this topic of artificial intelligence. But when you look at all of the new energy that's needed to power the data centers because of the use of AI, this could be a huge opportunity, a huge market opportunity for this company. And going there, and they're definitely diving in with both feet. I mean, this is not a small undertaking here in any way stretch. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. What do you guys do? Trying to revolutionize the energy industry.
Yeah.
Whew. What do you do? Write about it. So, okay, when completed, this campus is expected to establish one of the world's largest commercial scale nuclear fuel fabrication campuses with the capacity to produce enough fuel to support 55 of these small modular reactors, which will make 4.5 gigawatts of power. And that is enough to power 3.3 million U.S. households. And I wanted to share that figure just because it helps put everything in perspective. It's like, okay, nuclear energy, a lot of it. What's that actually translate to in terms of everyone's everyday life? And I mean, that's providing power to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like power to the people, but in a different way.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just regular power.
Just regular power.
Just like turn on your lights.
Yeah. Just, basic needs.
Just like for your microwave. Did you know that there are 54 active nuclear power plants in the United States?
I did not.
I did not
I would
either.
never have guessed it was that high either.
Same. Yeah. Yeah. I was curious reading this, like what I don't know if it necessarily comes down to demand, what type of power you get dispensed in your community.
Oh, yeah.
But if there is a draw for this type of power anywhere, are people asking for it? Because you always hear about like fears, rightly or not, around nuclear.
Yeah. No, because I mean, they are rightly because the bad cases have been very bad, but they're also not because the bad cases have been very few and far between.
True. Yeah. I'm just curious if there's any pushback, I guess.
Oh, I mean, talk about, this is height, NIMBY. This is height. Like, I mean,
So I mean, if that's the case, like, I'm just curious, like, what was that narrative then? Like,
how they, well, I think,
was there controversy around this plant going in or anything like that?
Not knowing that specifically, I would say, it kind of spun out of work at Oak Ridge Lab.
Yeah.
So maybe this area of the country is a lot more accepting of that.
They're just like, we've seen all kinds of crazy
it's
stuff.
Just like
For the last 80 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a little rebrand. No. These are not nuclear fuel pellets. This is just Triso X. Don't worry about it. We're just making Triso X.
You know, it's interesting too. And I know modular is a relative statement, right? Modular can be the size of this room. Modular can be whatever.
The size of our city. Yeah.
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 So, I mean, could you see this technology at some point getting to the point almost like the propane tanks in people's front yards?
Maybe.
You know, where
Yeah.
like as opposed to hooking up to the grid, you've got your own like, you know, personal reactor sitting in your backyard, and somebody comes and fills that thing up as you need it, and that's how we source power.
I don't think that is a crazy idea, especially when some of these data centers are strategically placing themselves by old utilities, so that way they can turn them back on just for their own use. That is not crazy at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy, but you know, just like, I mean, instead of like ordering that they're going to fill your propane, just like, I need to order 3 Triso X pellets, and it's going to be like $1,000.
You come into work and be like, yeah, I had a little meltdown. Yeah, the power was out. The alarm didn't go off. You know.
You probably shouldn't even be near me. No. All right. Well, before we head too far down that dark path, let's jump into our final thoughts before we get out of here this week. Anna, what's your final thought?
Well, I wanted to share. So my 11-year-old daughter just got a palate expander put on her mouth at the orthodontist, which is basically what it sounds like. It just moves your unfused top jaw like over a little bit, just a tiny increments at a time.
Yeah.
So it's just fun because we're talking about all this like emerging and evolving technology in medical. I know orthodontics and dentistry was like very much involved, like kind of at the ground floor with 3D printing.
Yeah.
But I just want everyone to know that the technology behind the palate expander is, I think, the same as it's been since like maybe the 1800s, if it was a thing.
Like Gen 1.
It's just like this.
We're just going to slowly push it away from itself.
Yeah.
One click at a time.
And what they do is they put this giant metal thing in the mouth, and then they hook it on the teeth, and they put mouth glue in there that stays on. And then they give you what they call a key. And then every night, my husband and I, every night, one of us has to reach into her mouth with the key and like turn it just like one turn.
Yeah.
So it like moves. And then the next day we do it. And the next day we do it.
How long?
For 30 days, Jeff. And then it has to stay in her mouth for like 2 months after that to like adjust fully, I guess.
Fully expand.
Yeah. And then she has to have a retainer for a while. But my point is like, for all the stuff that changes like significantly, it's just crazy to see some stuff that is just like, yep, we invented the best way to do it 100 years ago, and that's still what we're doing. Like, okay, I mean, I believe you, I guess.
Well, and there, you know, I mean, there are some, every day there are things that come up in your life where you're just like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, like we're still doing that.
Yeah, we're turning a key inside of a mouth. Not that I'm saying like you want a remote where basically it's like turning the temperature up or like making the ceiling fan go faster, but basically just like push it up once, like, yep, no, we're good.
Yep.
It's
just press the button.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess stick with what works.
She doesn't love it.
No.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I'm glad. I totally lost my train of thought on the 3D printed contact lens story, but that was another thing that I wanted to mention. Is it's not out of the realm, just because I've been in a dentist office for most of my life, and I've been there where they're just like, hold on a second, I gotta go 3D print you a temporary one.
It's crazy,
and it is wild. It's just like, you know, you chit chat about what's going on in your daily life, and they bring you out a 3D printed tooth, and you're like, all right. But yeah, it's that is a good reminder that, man, it's just crazy to me. Just bedtime, story time.
Yep.
And a couple of and one click.
Stick this key in your mouth.
What happens if you like over click?
Don't.
Just don't. It just turns once, and like it's kind of hard to explain, but it would be you would have to want to turn it twice.
Okay,
you know
that's all. Just like, you know, I mean, because I could see that, like, hey, one click only.
Yeah.
2 clicks bad next couple of days.
Yes.
You're thinking about what your brothers would have done to you if they realized you had this type of situation.
First and foremost, I would have done it to them.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it's make sure the key stays out of the siblings' hands. My final thoughts this week are just pretty simple. Like we went really low key, you know, as a result of all the wildfire smoke. I found our family planning for summer days like they were winter days. You know, it was just like, what are we going to do to stay busy inside? And, you know, as we were just at wit's end, I went to the closet and grabbed a 1,000 piece puzzle of music puns. And it was just an exercise with the kids, with my entire family, watching the World Cup final, putting together a puzzle at the height of summer, most beautiful day, can't breathe outside. But it was also, everyone was focused and quiet, and we had a really good time together. And sometimes, I mentioned it many times where we're overthinking all the fun. And sometimes you can go all the way back to a puzzle on the kitchen table and a really good time. And it's great because it's a very simplistic accomplishment. When it's like, oh, what is that? Those are monkeys. What is the band? And the kids are like, what's the monkey band? I'm like, it's just the monkeys. But I did take a photo of this, and I will share it because there are apparently 100 different music puns on this. And while it was easy for me to understand the malformed digestive biscuit, I got that one.
Yeah.
We did not even get close to all 100. So I wanted to crowdsource this thing.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah. And just a reminder, the other part of that was just, I feel like I've spent all summer just like, I wanted to bring a bike to work. And there's so many trails around us to just take a bike ride at work because there's so little time in my day. So I'm like, that's how I'm going to spend a lunch hour. Finally did it today. And man, I just wish I started 2 months ago. It was just incredible to kind of get out, enjoy the now breathable air, and, get a chance to focus on a couple of things and nothing at all at the same time. So if you have a chance, take a bike ride, build a puzzle. Jeff, final thoughts.
Well, I had to sort of practice what I've been preaching about paying attention to the little things.
Oh, okay.
Had an interesting experience there. So as I kind of alluded to, bought a boat last year, a fishing boat, and I've been having trouble getting the thing started. I replaced the plugs. I put in a new fuel filter. I replaced another maintenance valve. I recharged the batteries. I checked the cables. I checked the fuel lines, the gas can, everything. It would not turn over. So I called our friend Bill.
Oh, yeah?
Who is pretty much a guru in all things mechanical.
Yeah.
He comes over, he asks all those same questions, tries everything. But on accident, because he wasn't sure what something was, he actually unplugged and plugged something back in. Thing fired right up.
Oh, no.
No.
And all it must have been because we were in some real choppy water. It must have, the connection must have just gotten far enough apart that it would not turn, the motor would not turn over.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know. He's just like, wonder what this is. And just that must have been it.
Oh, my goodness.
So the little things. Yes, I am still learning.
Well, that's not on you, man. But I mean, you're right. In those moments when it is that simple thing, you're like, yes, I finally got it, and I'm never gonna. In going through all this, I did send producer Eric, and I was in a group chat with a couple of people. It was just a picture of a boat on fire because that's how I felt. I'm like, if this doesn't work, I'm just, maybe somebody left the gas can open and dropped something in there. And, yeah, that's that
might happen
when you can in those situations when you can't figure it out. You're trying to figure out who did it to you. And be this great wrong, and then when it's a simple fix. I mean, producer Eric has his own story of a simple boat fix as well, and how whether or not a boat might run better with gas in it.
Well, if anybody has some similar boat stories they can share to make me feel better, let me know.
It's the world is a boat story.
The world is a boat story.
The world is a boat story.
Deep thoughts with David Manti.
Well, man, that'll be my final thought next week. I mean, Bill can make anything. He just made us an incredible bookshelf, and I wish to share it with the world because he is a craftsman. All right. Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. Really helpful on Spotify, Apple, just a thumbs up on YouTube. And actually, if you listen to us on any other platform, let us know what it is. So that way we can promote that one as well. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. Subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. And subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. Every Thursday except this Thursday. Hopefully this all went well and you're listening to it now. And don't just walk away from it with 2 hours of our time gone. All right. For Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today Manufacturing Podcast, and we will actually see you, hopefully, next week.